Getting to know you, about you, getting to like you, to hope you like me, getting to know you, putting it my way, but nicely. Come on, help me out here. You are precisely what?
What we're doing, I think, is a way of encouraging children to interact with elderly citizens.
This exchange between the children and the elderly is something you don't get in a book.
Once a week we go and we read to an elder who lives within walking distance.
Part of the function of each generation is to pass on, to transmit what has been found out to the new folks that are coming online.
One other thing that I'm terribly interested in as far as children are concerned, and that is that they appreciate the world they live in, the nature of it, because it is fragile. They need to know that they are stewards.
I just feel that there's this power now with the kids. They want to provide something, to give something back to the community.
From the earliest stirrings of human memory, elders have passed down to their young the stories of the land, the practical crafts and agrarian experiences which sustained the very essence of the community. This ancient tradition still lives today within families, communities, and even public schools, which recognize the importance of children learning directly from the age-old wisdom of their elders. By bringing to life the social studies and language arts curriculum and enriching the creative arts, mathematics, and sciences, elders provide a vital link to the lessons of the past which are so crucial for understanding the forces which shape our future. We call this learning cultural literacy. Cultural literacy is passing down stories, skills, and knowledge from generation to generation, developing an awareness, appreciation, and understanding of the heritage of a community, a process for documenting a community's rich cultural fabric, schools preserving the community's past for future generations, integrating local community knowledge into state and national standards-based curriculum units. The benefits of cultural literacy are: give students a greater sense of place and purpose.
It is very important to try somehow to bring these two, the older and the younger, together again. And because there is a need to know your background, to know what your roots are in order to be secure when you go out in the world.
Gives elders a sense of being valued, useful, and respected.
But a lot of people would benefit a great deal sharing what they have learned in life with the younger folks who still have a lot to learn.
Students learn to interact with older people.
Yeah, give it a good break. You need to be a little, and pull it apart and make sure you get it all. See, this is something I learned from my Scotch childhood. You get all your food in so you can eat it. Okay, there's 3.
Students and elders feel connected, which builds self-esteem.
First thing you know, you're in love with this child if you're an elderly person, because they have brought you joy. They brought you a reason for living.
Creates positive community relations.
Knowledge about how the school works spreads into the community. And that's something that you can send all these newsletters and you can tell them about what's happening in school, but unless they experience it firsthand, they don't understand how school works nowadays.
Makes education relevant and meaningful.
I haven't been a bus driver all my life, you know. I'm retired, but I had a job to do all my life. I was an engineer. We're going to build some birdhouses.
This is a story of how a school in one community is working to reconnect children and elders in order to build a common future soundly based on the heritage and traditions of their past. Prompted by Elder Thelma White, Peachum teachers Lynn Hervey and Sarah Parker teamed up with Joseph Kiefer of FoodWorks to develop a standards-based curriculum called Cultural Literacy. As the project progressed, an 8-step plan was followed. Step 1 is to plan a standards-based curriculum unit. To develop the curriculum, the teachers began by working with a nonprofit educational consulting firm, FoodWorks, on environmental education and community service learning.
It became a regular practice in my classroom to gift bread to the seniors every Christmas season, to walk up into the village to sing songs for the shut-ins, to invite elders into breakfast to share an experience with students. And every year we had an annual Grandparents' Day where students would invite their grandparents in to share a learning experience with them, or if they didn't have a grandparent close by, they would invite an elderly citizen.
The theme of elders seemed to keep coming up in our conversation, that's where the stories were, and that's where we could get a lot of information about the community of Peachum, because that's where the history really is.
All of these activities were so powerful that we began to have a discussion about how students could learn from the elders in the community, and so we began the planning of a standards-based curriculum.
The next step is to identify a community coordinator.
My advice would be to first find someone who felt at ease with the teachers and being in schools, being in an elementary school, being surrounded by a lot of children, who could then be the liaison out into the community, because you need that bridge.
Really, one needs a coordinator who is very familiar with the people in town, who can say, well, this person makes good bread. That person knows how to weave, how to spin, and how to weave. And then contact those people and say, would you be willing, with some help, to come to our school and work with a small group?
For me, not living in the community and not knowing that generation of people in the community, we've really needed someone like her who's been actively involved with the kids, with the school, as well as with the community. And I think she was the flame that kept it going all through those months.
Step 3 is to prepare the students. Because most children no longer have elders as part of their day-to-day life, it is essential that we prepare students on how to be with elders.
One of the first things that the little children will ask of an older person is, how old are you? The second question is, how much money do you make? Mm-hmm. And this offends some people. So you sort of have to prime the children that they need to, as to what questions are appropriate.
A share circle is a good way to determine students' attitudes and knowledge of the lives of elders.
This morning I put a question on our meeting sheet that said, what questions or comments do you have about elders? And I noticed that most of the comments people had to do with some kind of sickness or not being able to do things. Cassie wrote, they can't walk good. The elders can't move around so well. Megan wrote, they can't talk as well. They are old. Caitlin wrote, people don't pay attention to them. It seems like a lot of initial thoughts that people had this morning were problems that elders have, not being able to get around or not being able to speak as well.
Today's an exciting day, and this is going to really be an important part of our community study for this year. And one of the things we're going to be looking at and trying to learn more from are our elders. The elder people, our grandparents, and the older people who live in Peachum. And I'm curious what you think about why we should care and want to get together with elders in Peachum.
They're just as special as we are, and they're lonely, they're at their last part of their life and they could use someone to entertain them. Bring them food every day. We could read books to them. Help them get outside.
Remember, our elders might be 60, 70, 80, 90 years old.
I saw someone 103. What does it feel like?
To be what?
Old.
To be old. That's a great question.
You could ask them like if they had a lot of books or something.
What do you think you could learn from them?
My
Caitlin.
grandpa knows some stuff about the ocean because he lives right next to the ocean.
So, you'd ask him, tell me about the ocean? What are you curious about the ocean?
I want to know what it is like and how deep it is.
That's great.
And what's underwater.
That's great. I like those questions. Megan?
What they had to eat when they were a little kid.
Listen.
Maybe they ate bread.
Maybe they ate bread.
Bread and water. Or milk.
Or milk.
They could teach you probably how to milk a cow.
Teach you how to milk a cow. Aha. Yeah.
They could have eaten a lot of fruit and onions.
Do you have any thoughts about elders coming into the classroom more and doing things with us? Any ideas on what we could do if elders came into school? Latasha?
We could show them around the school.
Show them around the school. Caitlin?
Teach them how school is now.
Teach them how school is now. It's very good.
Good.
Adam?
If they can't read good, teach them how to read.
Teach them how to read.
Well, my grandma, she has a garden and she has lots of bird feeders. I think in her 20s.
Elders also need to be prepared for children's curiosity, enthusiasm, and high energy.
I would say anyone who wants to do this, just bring yourself and your memories and your skills and be prepared to share them. You have to have patience and time to ask questions. You must have your material written down because the children will be so eager to talk. And as you get older, you find it very easy to get distracted and forget something.
Those of us who are retired and don't have to earn a living any longer are perfectly able and happy to pitch in maybe once a month for an hour or two, or for that matter, maybe one hour a week. Could be a routine assignment. But I think that for the young people, it would be very worthwhile, just like it's very worthwhile for us older folks to have a feeling we still have a stake in this society.
One of our senior guests a few months ago, in a sense, had to be persuaded to come in and talk to the children. I knew he was a little uncomfortable, not really knowing what to expect. And he said to me, I didn't think I was going to like this, and I am really having a good time. And I was so pleased that he was so honest about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I knew that he was anxious about it. And just making that one step, just getting your foot in the door to be with kids who are really asking, I mean, they're very much asking for knowledge, asking to be told about what it is you know about these things.
Oh, I enjoy working with the children. It's challenging. I went home absolutely exhausted and had to go to bed, but it stirs you up and it gives you something to think about. It's much more refreshing than watching the news and getting depressed.
Once the elders are prepared to be with the students, a useful method for presenting the elders' wisdom is to organize them by common themes, such as stories and local history, food and gardening, crafts and environment.
It's a vital part of the community, and they have so much to offer, and they are getting old, and they will not be around forever, and that if we want to capture what they have, that we need to take that opportunity now. A couple ways that we've thought of preserving the information that we get from the elderly would be through simply taping with a cassette tape as they come in and tell stories, so we'll have their voices and their stories right on tape. And another way we've thought of is for students that are writing their stories down, making their stories into a book, having the books published and put in the library.
Children are at one level and you're at another, and to bridge that gap, I think that's what your stories do. And so it doesn't have to be rehearsed. In fact, it's better if it's not. Bread is one of the oldest foods.
Have you made a lot of bread when you were younger?
Well, my mother used to make bread when I was growing up.
Did you help her?
I grew up in the 1930s, which is called the time of the Great Depression. Now let's watch that balance.
One thing that's very important for us is for us to have our children knowledgeable about their community, the people in their community, the lives of people in their community, and to learn from the history of their community.
Starting with planting, which is the basic root, planting for food, and then going on to planting ideas in your head about the history of your town and the histories of each people in the town, gives you a feeling of gives the children a feeling of belonging somewhere, so that they have put down roots. What does a plant need? Sun. Water. Food.
Crops. Vegetables.
Water, food, sun. Okay.
Crops.
Yes. Roots. Yes. And do you need roots?
No.
Oh, do you? I need roots. My roots are different. My roots are different. Our roots are a little different from the plants, but we need to put down roots, don't we? So remember, we're going to have soil, and we're going to have, what was that other thing you said they had to have? Water, yes, and that we'll give them immediately, the soil and the water, because the soil has the food.
This won't stay.
Oh, then you've got to get it down deeper. It is a kind that probably doesn't put down as deep roots. Some of us put down very, very deep roots as people, and some have not as deep roots, but we all try to have some because it makes us feel better.
This is flowers, vegetables are over there. We have beans.
All right, you take this one and very carefully.
Yeah.
Very carefully. Put it way down, and put it down, lay it down, and then you can put the dirt around it.
I need some rocks. Could be weeds. Oh, here are rocks. I need rocks. Oh, can I ask you? I do this.
And does anybody have an apple tree in their yard?
I have an apple tree up in my field. Yeah,
Almost all of you?
He has 3 in his field.
Okay. This is called a Foley mill, and I'll put some in here, and I'll show you how to work it. You can probably figure it out for yourself. Yeah, but you have to hold right on so you don't lose it on the floor or something. All right, Tucker, why don't you start? Now you need to hold on to this and then turn the handle. Go slowly so it doesn't go off the table.
Oh, that was probably easier than this one. Yeah, look how much applesauce is still on top of it. That's it all there.
And do you all like cinnamon and nutmeg? Shall I put a little cinnamon and nutmeg in too? That may be too much. I enjoyed being with the children very much. I never thought about showing children how to make applesauce, but it was a lot of fun, and it was rather gratifying that they liked it very much too in the end. So, and they had some good questions to ask.
Did you ever see an apple doll? And you'd take an apple and let it dry, and it would wrinkle up, and that would be the doll's head. Would you like to try one making a knot? in it because really you need to have the knots to have it dry. Would you like to try it? Has each one of you tasted of your apples? Because that was another thing we did. As we peeled them, as we sliced them up, about every 4 slices, that happened. Just like that. It's the best thing.
Eating the apples.
That's right. It is the best thing of all, isn't it? Everybody hold yours up. And, let me hold up this one. There. That's the way it's supposed to look.
What kind of bread did you make?
We always made white bread, but we had different flour than we have nowadays. My mother she'd buy 25 bags of flour at a time, and she had bread flour, and she had pastry flour. And if you had a recipe, the recipes now call for, this is called all-purpose flour. And you can use it for everything. But if you use pastry flour in cookies, they fell. They were just thin and very chewy. My sister one time made brownies, and they didn't rise, they weren't late, they fell and they were chewy, just like leather. And another thing you're doing when you're kneading is you're transferring the heat from your body into this bread so that it will raise.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready. You give it a push. You'll pull it back towards you, and then just lean right on it.
This is sort of like math because you have to measure things.
Yeah, and you'll have to divide, because when this is all risen, then we are going to have to divide this evenly into 8 pieces.
Everybody's cutting off needles from balsam branches that Sarah brought into the room. So we start with a branch like this, remember that? And we end up with a pillow like this, which will be filled up and ready to go home, and we think. I think a lot of people just put them into a bureau drawer to make the, it's almost like, or they have them in their cars too, I've noticed that. Anywhere that is a nice place to put a little pillow. I learned to make them, I guess when I was growing up, but not really until I got to be a real adult and in a fundraiser at the church.
We're going to build some birdhouses. I made a drawing at home of how we're going to do the job. So I got the parts listed here now. On the bottom piece, I got a 3/4 by 2.5 by 6 by 9. 1 piece required. So let me see. This looks like it might be it right here. When you put these together, they need to go like that. All right, what are we going to do here? All right, let's try it. We want to be sure we got 6 inches across, okay? Just so you see where this comes together, you draw a line this way, and you draw a line this way, where these comes together, see? Like that? All set? You don't grab the hammer like this. You grab the hammer like this. Let the hammer work for you. All right, tap the nail in. Don't hit my finger. All right, what's our next step?
So what would you do to mark a trail?
Something that animals won't eat.
Okay.
Eat in bigger.
Okay. So that nobody is going to, by mistake, go on the snow in the wintertime and break through and get themselves very cold, wet feet.
Also, we're going to stick them through the plastic.
And then we stick this into the hole, and then once this is in the hole, we can put the tube in there, see? Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. What? You can carry it with one hand? That's pretty good.
2 fingers.
A few years ago, I couldn't do that.
We have seen examples of elders giving to students. Step 6, students serve elders, is the part of the curriculum where, through community service, students can give something back by helping elders.
One thing that I learned is there's a lot of need out there in the community, and we discovered some of that need just by conversations. You know who's lonely. You know who may need help with certain chores around the house.
One of the first activities we're going to be doing is around this holiday season is singing to some elders in the community, some elders that are shut in and don't get out much. And many of these the children do know. They live right in the town of Peacham, so some of us will be walking and giving a gift of bread.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, he'll go down in history. We have an indoor audience here.
Where are you folks from?
We're from the school, the Peacham School.
Oh, you are? My word, they let you out to come up and sing and special? Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry. You know, I have a card in my pocket that gives me a license to hug. I really do.
The thing that I think is most important about this is that connection with the community. I think it is our responsibility to take care of the people in the community. I think it's a shared responsibility. And it's such an incredible gift that kids can give to the elder citizens in the community. I can't think of anything that's as powerful as this. And they will grow up, they will leave here knowing that it is their job to look out for other people.
For the culmination of the project, the students invited elders, parents, and community members to the first ever Peacham Cultural Roots Celebration.
Thank you for coming, especially the elders who taught us so much, and the parents who take care of us, and the children that are kind and beautiful.
Students made presentations of what they learned from each elder.
Fred made blueprints for us so we could make our own birdhouses. We worked in groups of 4. Mrs. Peterson showed us some pictures. One of the pictures was her old car when she was little. George Kempton, he told us about Winter Rye. We went up to the Three Sisters Garden and planted the Winter Rye. We planted it with our hands by scattering the seeds, and we raked it into the soil. We gifted the wood to the elderly people in town. Miss Quimby helped her dad with the hay bales. She would throw the hay bales on the truck. Mrs. Quimby liked to help her mother make supper. Mrs. Quimby said there were a lot of chores to be done. It was really fun working with Mrs. Quimby. She taught us about the good old days of Peacham. She told us about when she was a little girl. She walked to school and would listen to the birds, and she would ride on the wagon.
Oh, thank you.
One thing I've tried to do is get grandchildren and seniors together during this project, because if this is going down as a piece of history for the town of Peacham, in 100 years from now, it'll be wonderful to see Jacob with his grandmother Eloise. I mean, she was in tears tonight, and she said thank you. She said Jacob is just doing fabulous, and she was so moved that he said what he said up there. I don't think she really knew how much he's learning from her, or how much she's taught him. Until tonight, I think it struck her that she's taught him an awful lot. And we just need to give him an opportunity to give that back, to show that.
And one elder said, I didn't know that they had heard me. I didn't know that they had really learned and had listened to me. So that was, this whole presentation tonight was powerful for that elder, that, wow, they really learned a lot of what I said. And I think that piece was, this whole culminating event was very important to let them know that the children did hear them and did appreciate them.
To enhance student performance and make learning more meaningful, it is helpful to continually assess students' experiences with elders.
When I was working with Mrs. Quimby, I didn't know they had bread machines back then. And and I didn't know they had so many recipes, and we learned a lot. And it was really fun.
It was an incredible assessment of what they had learned, and I was really struck with how strongly they felt about it, how powerful it had been to them, their experiences, the stories they remembered, the experiences they shared. They remembered every last bit of it. But I think what they've discovered is that the elderly people have a lot to share, that they're still functioning human beings.
I came into this thinking, we're going to learn so much from the elders, but I think that we realized that they learned a lot too, just being with kids. So it really turned into a good exchange.
It's really wonderful for older people to share their growing up and the experiences that they've had. And I think we don't do it enough, partly because we're rushing on, living life, and the memories kind of stay behind. So I think we as older people have to remember to do that with the children when we can.
Oh, I definitely believe the heritage that we have should be passed on. If you want a community, you have to be part of it, and you have to give it yourself.
This program is all a part of this, this learning who you are and where you came from. And I think that, as far as I'm concerned, I can't give enough of it. It's pure joy. And it helps the community feel proud of the school.
I think they should do it in every school, whether it's a little school or a big school.
I just feel that there's this power now with the kids. They want to provide something, to give something back to the community. And if we can instill that want to do that, then they'll be able to fulfill what's expected of them when they become older, to be part of their community, to be responsible, to go and vote, to take care of the things that need to be done because they've learned how to do it when they were little.